1, 2, 3. Hey guys, I know we were supposed to start at 10:30 if I haven't talked to you. And
Down in the south, they can't get enough. Her southern charm, everyone loves.
Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and get West End up on the stage. Coach Sewell, when you get your guys. So once again, as I said, we want you to ask questions today, and Stone will be the young man that'll have the microphone. So we want you to ask your questions in the microphone where everyone can hear it. We'd appreciate that, of course. The food's in the back. We thank Local Joe's for their help with Media Day today. And again, I think this is year 4 that we've done this here in Gadsden for Etowah County. And it seems like it's gotten bigger every year. And we appreciate you guys coming out. And as I'm looking forward to another football season, this will be my, I guess, 42nd high school football season this year. So looking forward to another one. So thanks for coming today. And Coach Derek Sewell, West End Patriots coach, if you would some opening comments, let the young men introduce themselves. And guys, if you would pull the microphone and kind of get into the microphone, that would help us all. And if y'all would just introduce yourselves, and then Coach, some opening comments, and then we'll pass around the microphone for our guys.
Okay. Go ahead, Kane.
My name is Kane Lawson.
My name is Rocco, and I'm a running back.
My name is Tristan, and I'm a receiver.
All right, thank you guys for doing this. This is it's a really cool thing I think we put on for the kids, and I think it's good to get exposure for not just our area, but for a game that seems to be getting harder and harder to get people to commit to. On opening comments, we've had a really good summer. Really, actually, our biggest challenge to these guys after the season we had last year was once January got here, it was, we were done with that. And these guys have worked hard. These are 3 of our leaders right here. We've worked hard, January through up till now. The biggest thing that I think we've all learned is that with success, everything becomes harder. So I've challenged these guys and the team to elevate their game, elevate the way they work. And sometimes through elevation, you lose people. So, these guys have really had to grind out watching people leave them because this game we play is hard, and hard is not always an attractive thing these days. So I'm super proud of this team and these 3 that represent them because we've put them through it. We've tried to elevate and make things hard as we could on them. And we're just excited to see now them to get to go out and see the results of the hard work that they put in.
Coach, I know you had a big senior class last year. Talk about how many returning players you've got, maybe starters on offense and defense this year, and how many do you have on the varsity program right now?
So right now we've got, when we dress a few 8th graders, we'll be right at 30. We've lost, actually graduations hit us hard the last 2 years. We lost 11 my first year and 13 this past year. But on the defensive side of the ball, we'll return, I believe it's 6 guys. So we'll have a good staple there on defense. Offensively, we'll be breaking in a new quarterback. We'll only have 2 up front that are returners. Now, of course, these 3 will return, so we'll have 5 or 6 on the offense. But the biggest thing that we're trying to develop, I said last year we were trying to have depth up front, an offensive line that's separate from the defensive line. And we were able to do that for most part last year, but I think this time we're maybe going to be a little better set to have that depth to where we can have an offensive line and a defensive line and keep guys fresh. But yeah, we've got about 5 or 6 return on each side of the ball. And the biggest thing with these low numbers will be, can we stay healthy? And everybody that's going to come up here today is going to say that. I mean, we're all just a turned ankle away from, on a Wednesday, from Friday going a lot different than it should have went. So, that's going to be crucial, is taking care of our bodies. And then us as coaches managing their reps through the week, taking care of them, and just making sure that we can go into every Friday as healthy as can be.
This is for all 4 of you. What have you seen mostly the growth from the end of last year to now? What is the biggest change you've seen from the team?
Definitely we're really coming together because with like losing so many, you got to have that bond to be able to be a strong team. So like small group, you know each other more, so you kind of get to know each other a lot more, and you play a lot better that way.
Yeah, I think we got a smaller group, but the guys we got, we know are going to give 100% and really give their all, so it's good.
Yeah, I agree with Tristan. We just have to have a bond, even though we're low on numbers. We have multiple players playing both ways, but other than that, we just got to play together as a team.
And I would say that would be the biggest part of the growth from last year to this year is, from a coaching standpoint, is trying to get them to understand again that they've got to elevate the way they think, the way they speak, the way they act, the way they attack everything if we want to have continued success. We're happy that there was a 7-3 season and a playoff appearance. But if any of the 30 are satisfied with that, then we're in trouble. Because I think when people get satisfied with average, then you begin to go backwards. So that's been the biggest growth. And I think I see that in a majority of our guys, that they do have a desire to move forward, to take that next step, to be, at the very least, a consistent contender in a tough fight on every Friday night.
Coach, we ask this every year. Speaking of the guys, you want to keep them fresh, especially for later in the season. You have a idea about, I know it's going to work itself out over the next few weeks, but how many guys you expect to play just one way this year?
The numbers we have, they're a little bit unique in that while the overall number may not look large, we've got kind of the right people in the right places. So and like with these two, both play running back, both are, you could classify as athlete on offense, been able to move around, both play outside linebacker for us. We've got some younger guys that are going to be able to spill them in moments. So we may be able to rest a couple of series on defense, or it may be that we can interchange at running back some. And we've picked up in the secondary, if like Tristan plays corner for us, he usually is on an island by himself, but we've got some other guys. So while they may be still starting both ways and playing both ways a lot, we're going to be able to rest them in different places. Now, these three know, as well as everybody else that wears a number below 50, they're not going to get as much rest. We're really prioritizing the rest for those guys that are up there in the trenches, and which in turn will make things a lot better for them.
Coach, give us an idea about your region this year and what you expect out of the region as a whole.
I think the region will be tough. It'll be very competitive. If somebody asked me today to pick my favorite, I think you got to look at Locust Fork and say, even though they didn't win the region, they're probably returning the most, and that's probably who we're all chasing. Sometimes I get in the habit of being a self-deprecating guy, and I probably don't give my team enough. I think we're going to be able to battle for that spot, for that top spot in the region. But, Cleveland's going to be good. Southeastern's going to be good, because they're used to being good. They kind of know what it takes. Pleasant Valley, me and Coach Nix are good friends. I like what he's doing. I think every year he's right there. He's got a young team, and he'll still be somewhat young, and he does a good job. So, there's somebody I think you need to watch. And then, Coach Mason, the new coach at Holly Pond, he's a good defensive guy. Defense has been a struggle for them, so I would imagine he fixes that. And if he fixes that, they've got enough athletes to where I think they have a shot. So really, I think I don't want to say it's wide open, but I think you've got 5 or 6 teams there that can really jockey for those 4 spots.
Hey, Coach. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I guess my first question is, am I allowed to come to a game this year? Because I remember last year you told me if y'all, I think, lost the Holly Pond game, I wasn't allowed to come back.
Yeah, you've earned at least one more because
okay,
we were able
right.
to sneak that one out.
All right. But I've noticed there's a lot of great things happening in Walnut Grove. Talk to us about the community support at West End.
Yeah, I've said this before. I like being at West End because there's high expectations, okay? But with those high expectations comes a community that will really bond behind these kids. I've had it said a few times, the people that are going to boo me the worst sit right behind me. But as soon as somebody from somewhere else says something, they're going to be the first ones ready to fight. So it's it is a true family dynamic out there. And support's good. You know, we don't really lack for anything. Yeah, we would all like to have more things and more stuff, but a community, it's a hard-working community. I mean, there's nothing that can just be handed to us, and you can see that from what these kids come from, and they bring that same work ethic in every day. But you know, I know the band's growing. You know, we've added cross country, we've added golf, we've added track, so things are happening out there. And you know, with softball doing as well as they did this spring, I just think there's a lot of growth happening in that community.
Coach, August 25th, you have Galesville and Coach Knapp coming to visit. What is your number one focus between now and then to get this group ready to go?
Just to make sure we're ready for a physical battle. Say what you will about Galesville at times. I know that for 48 minutes, you're just really going to have your face beat in. And to be honest, that's why I wanted that game at the beginning. I think Coach Knapp does a good job with his kids. He gets the very most out of them. So we've got to make sure that we're ready to play in a physical ball game, that we've conditioned ourselves the right way, because like I said, there's going to be kids that are classified in that Ironman football where they're flipping them around and playing both sides. But we just better make sure we're ready for a fight right out of the gate.
Let me ask the players this, is you guys have gone through the summer and the heat of summer, and I guess practice starts for some next week and the week after. You're with your guys every day. Talk about the attitude of the team. I'm not talking about you three guys, because obviously you're leaders. Coach brought you today. Talk about the attitude of the team and how you guys maybe have had to affect some of that attitude with guys this summer.
Definitely, like with the attitude at practice, with it being hot and low numbers, we're constantly taking more reps than we did last year. So, I mean, it's always just having to pep each other up and try to keep everybody on a good attitude.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's just kids are going to get down when it's hot and stuff like that. And, you know, you kind of got to lead by example, and you just got to, so they look up to you and see that the heat doesn't affect you, you just going.
Yeah, I do agree. The heat is pretty bad, but when you're here running sprints one after another, you hear guys over in the corner, I don't want to do this. You got to show them. You want to keep doing, keep pushing. So you just got to keep going and show them.
I'm going to ask you guys again, obviously you're leaders. What does it mean to you to be here today to represent your community, your school, the football team, the coaching staff, that Coach Sewell brought you guys today to represent the media for the football team? What does that mean to you personally?
It's definitely an honor, and it's a label that I get to wear on my chest that I don't really deserve. But I'm glad that I was put in a position as the person I am to be able to West End today.
No, you do deserve it, Tristan. But it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, it does feel good to be a leader and represent my own team.
Coach, last year you said 7-3, lost first round of the playoffs, and I know the team has goals, you have goals. It's your third year. You win 4 the first year, you win 7 last year. Can you share with us goals for this year's team for you and your staff?
I guess it better be at least 8. No, you know, it would be easy to sit down and start looking at the schedule and saying, well, look, these are the ones we got to get. I think we can get these. Here's the number I think we can achieve. And we would be lying if we say we don't do that at times. But my biggest thing is making sure that, because even as the success we had last year, it's still hard to find 10 football games or 11 football games to where I can say on the first whistle to the last buzzer, it was consistent effort, consistent efficiently, mentally, physically. So that's my goal for them, is to learn to compete from that very first whistle to that very last horn. And I've said it before, and maybe it was when I was at Raglan, I can't remember, but that's the wins take care of themselves then. Okay, because then if it's an L that night, I can take it because I know that they were just better than us that night. That's the big, I don't ever want them to be able to walk off a field and say, well, you know, if I had done this, well, let's just get rid of the ifs. Let's just make sure we're consistent through the night, and winning will take care of itself.
I'll ask all of you this. Is it hard not to look ahead? I know you got Galesville that first week, but Susan Moore in that second week, and I know that's a big rivalry game. Is it hard for you guys, for the coaching staff, maybe for the coaching staff it's not, for you guys not to look ahead a little bit?
Like looking past Galesville to Susan.
Susan Moore's the next. You got Galesville first and Susan Moore, and I know that's got to be a big rivalry game as close as the communities are.
Yeah, we definitely worried about Susan Moore, but we just take it a game at a time. I mean, it's just a grind week after week, just trying to win every week. So.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry, but we just look at the games as you just look at the first game you're going to play. We're not really worried about the next game after that. We're just trying to get to the first game and win that game.
Yeah, usually we try to focus on one game at a time. For that week, say Gainesville's for that week, we focus on Gainesville's one. We don't even focus on Susan Moore until that next day, which is Saturday.
Coach, I have one more. And being a former coach, I got to ask you this. It's the question that probably never is asked to you, but let me know, because it's the most important part of a ball game for me, is how's your kicking game? Because a lot of times at the 3A level down, a lot of guys don't have kickers. They don't kick it off. They pooch kick it. Or give us an idea about how your kicking game's going to be.
So last year that was a big thing for us. We were able to kick a few field goals, and we were able to kind of pin teams where we wanted on kickoff possessions. But we'll have to break in a new kicker. We'll have our punter back. The punter's pretty good at being able to flip the field. You also know how it is at this level. We probably don't spend as much time on it as we should. But I think the biggest thing are those 10 gremlins ready to go down there and run down there with reckless abandonment. Because I don't care where he kicks it. If those guys will just get there with bad intentions, then I can live with it.
Coach, guys, thanks for being here today. Good luck as you start the 2023 season against Galesville. Thanks a lot, and y'all have a great season.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Up next is the Glencoe Yellow Jackets and Coach Scott Martin. Coach, I believe this is year number 30. Year number 30 as a head coach?
Oh, as a head coach?
As a head coach.
31.
31, okay. So Glencoe Yellow Jackets. Coach, if you would introduce the guys or let them introduce themselves and make some opening comments, then take questions, would appreciate it.
That'd be great. With me over here on my right is Jordan Haney, and on my left is Lucas Huff. You said you wanted them to say something? You want me to say something? Oh, I'm gonna say something. Okay. Jordan plays offensive line and defensive line for us, and Lucas plays offensive line and defensive line for us. So you notice I didn't bring any skill guys. All right. One of the things that we talk about in opening the season and talking about what kind of football team we want to be is be a football team that's physical in their nature on both sides of the football. And I think that, these two guys, both being seniors, represent the kind of football players that in the football team that we want to have, which is one of a physical nature, and that's kind of where it starts. And so I took this job a little bit over a year ago. Matter of fact, I probably wasn't there very long before I was sitting right up here talking about Glencoe football and didn't know a whole lot about it. And now that we've gone through over 100 years of Glencoe football, I've been I've been introduced and indoctrinated into Glencoe football, and so I have a better understanding of it. And they're like every football program, they want to win, and there's winning is complex. It takes a little bit of time to get it done, but when you come into a new program, the first thing you want to do is you don't want to shortchange the seniors that you have. And I thought last year our senior group played extremely hard and gave us everything they can and laid a good foundation for the years to come. And then this group right now has stepped into a better situation than what they've had. We've got a year under our belt, not only in the football program, but in the strength and conditioning in our expectations. And people that come into our building on a sporadic nature, the first thing they talk about as they come in is just the change in the demeanor of our kids and how they handle themselves. Our kids probably don't realize it because it's been a year in the making, but people that don't come into our building a lot are already like, wow, it's a lot different than the last time I walked in here. So, and it's not from a aesthetic feature. I mean, our building still looks the same. It's just the guys that are inside the building look different and act differently.
Could you tell us returning starters, offense, defense, maybe some of the young guys that maybe step up that we haven't heard from Glencoe football?
Well, we lost some seniors that started for us last year. Obviously, they're graduated. But, across the front offensive line, every guy that's going to play across that front offensive line probably has played or started at one time or another last year. As we started the year, we had 41 guys on the roster last year, and we finished the last game with 28 in that last game. And whether they were injured or they were sick, because we did have some illness in that Week 10 game, we made great strides in the offseason, and now our roster is 47. We had 50, a little over 50 in the spring, but you do have a little attrition, guys that come out and decide, well, this really isn't for them. We're across the front offense, look down, we pretty much had a group of guys that we played with last year at some point or another. So I'm really excited about that. These two guys lead us on both sides at guards. Of course, they're flip-flopped. This one plays left guard, so he should have sat over here, and this one plays right guard, and he should have sat over here. I'm confused. But, they're the stalwarts of what we do. And then as far as skill guys, our biggest pickup to me on the offensive side, we're having to replace Nolan Fairley, who had over 1,000 yards of offense. But we do have Aaron Mann back as a running back who played sparingly in 6 games and gained over 600 yards rushing last year, playing sporadically. And he had a really good spring. We've got Jake Boggs, who came out for football, who came back out, who's going to also spell him at running back, and that's going to help us a lot. But at quarterback, right now, Brady Kitchens is our starting quarterback, but Braylon Smith gives us another type of quarterback that can come in and help us, and both of those guys are going to be seniors this year. But then we've got Hayden Watson, who's a freshman, and he gives us another dynamic at quarterback. So it would not surprise me through the season that all 3 of those guys get some reps at quarterback for us. And if you've ever seen our offensive system, you understand why, because those quarterbacks really slash a lot as a running back. And so I can see those guys getting a lot of reps through there. And then formation-wise, we have a formation or 2 that we've added in the spring because we've had a few kids come out that we can utilize their talents. We don't get too much away from what we've done in the Ugly Eagle, but we do get a wide out or 2 spread out because that's the type of athlete we have, where we can bring them inside the box and they've got to block somebody, or we can take them outside the box and they block them by alignment. So we get the same thing that we had in the tight formations, but we're able to remove that person out of the box. So offensive, our philosophy has not changed. I always hear people saying already, oh my gosh, Glencoe, they've changed their offense. Well, they don't know me very well. We're not going to change. We're going to win with what we can win with, and that's being a physical football team. But we do have the ability to put the ball in the air, but as we see fit, not necessarily that we're made to do it, but that we can do it. The other thing on the defensive side of the ball, we've kind of patterned our defense after our basketball team. And the reason I say that is I thought that last year we weren't as aggressive. I thought we were more passive. And a lot of that has to come when you start bringing in new coaches and programs and stuff that, you know, there's a learning curve there. But I went and watched us play basketball this past year, and, you know, I was impressed with what Coach Chambliss was able to do on the basketball court and how they played up tempo from the opening tip to the very end of the game. So what we were able to do is I said, hey, that's how I want to play defense on football. And so we brought in that mentality, and I thought we had a really good spring. We also got 5 or 6 guys that play basketball that are now playing football. And so those guys are aiding us, especially on the defensive side of the football. Some on the offensive side, but especially on the defensive side. So that part's been very positive for us. So we had a good spring, and we saw a lot of good things that we wanted to see in those 10 days.
Coach, I sat in your office when you first got the job, and we talked about, you know, the right guy stayed that wanted to stay and play for you. And since that time, you kind of dug in. One thing I've always admired about you is you don't make any excuses. No. The guys that want to be there, they're there, and they want to play with you. Now, you just mentioned your relationship with Coach Chambliss, and you have some of those guys out. How much different is it from day one that you walked in there to now to what we're about to see in this upcoming season?
Well, I think it'll be a lot of difference. I mean, one of the things that happens when you go to a school of our size, which is a smaller school, you can't afford to be specialized, I don't believe. And so we want all of the best athletes in our high school to play all sports, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, I mean golf, fishing team, whatever. If you can be productive in that sport, then we're recruiting you to play those sports. And I think that our kids now have bought into it because they've seen, I'm the football coach, but I'm also the biggest basketball fan, baseball fan, softball fan. I mean, I'm at everything. And I'm not the AD. I'm there because I want to support our kids. And then if they can come help us in football, then I'm all for it. And I think that's what we've seen is that all of our guys are buying into the philosophy of, hey, if we can help, we're going to be out there. And so far, it really has paid off. And I think we're going to see some fruits of that labor this year.
Coach, I've always been a big weightlifting guy, a big power strength guy. And I look at these two guys here, look like they've spent some time in the weight room. And since last November, you've had a full off season to get your strength and condition. Talk about how much progress you've seen made in that stride area. Well,
we have made progress. We're not where we want to be yet. I mean, I think that when you're building a program, you start in year one from the ground base, and I think it takes, you know, a year to get guys where they get in the habit, in forming habits of how you want them to lift. And then I still think, you know, after year 2, you're getting into your strength gains. Our guys have gained strength, but my goal is that every year we keep improving in that strength level. And I think that's what we've seen is that these guys have gotten stronger, but it's more consistent. There are no days off.
What do what is the expectations this year for you guys? This is for all 3 of you, by the way.
Well, I mean, you know, that I heard Coach earlier. I mean, expectations are, you know, we play it one game at a time, and I've never gone into a football game that I didn't feel like we had a chance or had an opportunity to win a football game. I think that, you know, the one thing you can tell from our kids is they feel the same way. I mean, I think that when we first went there, the thought process was, I hope we could win a game. And then there's expectations of winning a game. You know, that's a whole different thing. Everybody hopes they can win. But it's when you have guys believing that they're going to win that you end up seeing the fruits of your labor. You know, we talk about, and I'm steering this a little bit different, you know, we talk about getting guys to buy into your program. You know, we went through the transfer portal within our own high school this year. I mean, and the reason I say that, I look out, and I'm using defensive backs as an example. I'm looking out there, and everybody that went to spring practice this year had a white jersey if they played for us last year. Everybody wore a white practice jersey. All the new guys that came out wore gold practice jerseys because that's what we had available. So when I went out to spring practice, I was watching the defensive backs one day, and there were 2 white jerseys and 10 gold jerseys. So we had a total transformation in our secondary from what we had last year. And it's that buying in and the expectations. You know, we're going to do what we need to do within our own school to up those expectations. And, you know, winning breeds winning. basketball, we were a lot better this year. Baseball, we were solid. We had a lot of first in both of those, beating teams that we might not have beaten in the past. And we did beat them in basketball and baseball. And so now that carries over. Those kids have a lot of confidence coming out of those sports, and that carries over into football because it's the same kids playing the same kids.
Coach, talk about the support you receive from the Glencoe community. Been covering it for years. Win or lose, no matter how the team is doing at one particular point, the stands are always full.
Unparalleled. Last night we had we had a foundation meeting, our Glencoe Athletic Foundation meeting, and we had a parents meeting after that, and we had well over 100 and something people in attendance. They obviously support their children, and we say win or lose. Everybody wants to win, so we talk about that. But what we talk about is how can we improve your child, and I think that's the number one thing is what can we do to make it better for your child, and the number one thing is getting those people to support and buy into what we're doing, and our community has been absolutely outstanding.
Coach, I know that you, in your head, you're going to win all 10 ball games. You're going to be the region champion. But I want you to tell me a little bit about those other guys. I've seen probably 4 or 5 of these guys in 7-on-7s this year that you're going to be playing in your region. Some of them can chunk it around pretty good. So I was really impressed when you talked about defensively and playing a little bit faster. Give us an idea about the region as a whole, what you expect this year.
They're all good. When you go into that, I think Coach made a good point earlier when he's talking about how you talk about other teams. And, you don't always give yourself enough credit. I think some of the things we do from an offensive standpoint and some of the things we'll do from a defensive standpoint will give people some trouble, or they'll have to make adjustments. But, every football team we play against, we have the utmost respect. I'll be the first to tell you I can't tell anything from 7-on-7. And I hate 7-on-7. And these guys will tell you that. I don't go. We went to one this year and ran some offensive formations that we will never run, only because it was to give other people work, because they don't want to line up against 2 tights and a wing and a sniffer back and have us run play action all night. They want to see something from a spread deal. So I put a bunch of plays on a band, so we had guys out there running routes that we'll never run on Friday night. All right? And so I really can't tell. You might be able to tell when you're talking about them chunking it. Nobody gets 4 seconds in high school to throw a football. And they give them 4 seconds all the time in 7-on-7, and guys are sprinting all the way to the line of scrimmage and throwing the ball at the line of scrimmage with no blockers in front of them. And I'm thinking, that's not real football. That isn't going to happen on Friday night. So, I have the utmost respect for everybody in our region. And our region's flipped a little bit. I know Coach Smith has moved from Piedmont to Westbrook, and I know that we've had some changes here and there. And probably if you look at it on paper, and that's the only way I can look at it, Sylvania has the most people coming back. Yeah. And they gave everybody fits, and we're right there, nipping on Piedmont's heels last year. So I don't know enough about the other teams. I'm just worried about mine. But I would say on paper, Sylvania would be my odds-on favorite. After that, I really can't tell you a whole lot, because the only guys I've really worried about for the last year are the 47 that are in our locker room and what we're going to be able to do.
Hey, guys, we'll ask you one question before the press conference is over.
Yeah,
talk about the attitude of the team this year. As you guys obviously are leaders, Coach brought you to represent Glencoe at Media Day. You're around your teammates when the coaches are not around. Talk about the attitude in the second year of Coach Scott Martin as you go into this year. Do you see a change in attitude, and what is the attitude going into the season?
I think that everybody's bought into our football program, and everybody just wants to work harder and win every game that we can, and everybody will do what they can to win as much as they can.
Yeah, everybody's pushing each other in the weight room and everything, and everybody wants to win games. So,
I'll add one thing to that. And I know I'm taking that time, but the one thing I'll say about these 2 young men is they're both leaders in the weight room. And I've always said this: when you have a coach-led football team, that's usually not a very good system, a good idea that you're going to be very good. I remember having a team at Ohatchee that it was a coach-led team, and we struggled But once your team starts becoming player-led and the coaches are basically, structuring it and organizing it and watching it, but once it's led by your players, you got a chance to be really good. And that's the one thing I've seen a change is guys wanting to be led, but at the same time, they're being leaders in the weight room, in the conditioning, off the field, doing the right things. And I'm not having, everybody can do the right thing when Coach Martin is sitting in the room. But how many times are we doing the right thing when we're not sitting in the room? That's where you've got to have tremendous leaders, and these guys have done a great job of that.
Coach, thanks. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you being with us today. Good luck in the 2023 season.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Because he'd rather be at the pool as with us, I'm sure. No, he probably Good to see you. All right, guys, y'all just be sure you All right, we're going to continue this morning with the Hokes Bluff Eagles, and I was just thinking about it. I think Coach Martin said 31 years for him as a head coach. Coach, this is either 29 or 30 for you, right? 28. So 60 years of head coaching between those two guys. It's been on the podium today. So that's outstanding. Coach Mike Robertson and the Hokes Bluff Eagles. Coach, if you'd make some opening comments and introduce the two guys or let them introduce themselves, we'd appreciate it.
I'll let them introduce themselves, but thank you guys for doing this. Yeah, it's been a long time. I was kidding Jeff Harrison. I run the pool at Hokes Bluff for 40 years, by the way, Jeff. Harrison's one of our lifeguards, and he's actually off right now, supposed to be working at the pool, so he's got to get up here and get to work. But Jeff used to come to the pool and do all these interviews, and I think I usually gave you a hot dog, maybe one. But anyway, glad to be here. It's 28th year. Been a good off season. Got 61 players, so we're excited about the season. Of course, we're still in the SEC Central. I think everybody on our schedule seems to think they're going to be better. I think we've got some chances to be better, but your competition sometimes determines your record. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I got two seniors with me. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll go from there.
My name's Dylan Lancaster. Harrison Cummings.
They're both 3-year starters. Dylan's defensive end, outside linebacker, and Harrison's the center.
Coach, tell us about the returning starters, maybe how many you've got coming back up front on offense and defense, and your skill players, please.
Well, I was telling John, we've got 5 to 6 on each side of the ball. Sometimes they're part-time starters from last year. But we've got some experience on the offense and defensive line. Our skill people, some of them have been playing since their freshman year, so they're juniors, but they'll be playing their 3rd year on the field. So although we only have 9 seniors with 61 players, you'd think, well, we're rebuilding. But actually, I don't feel that way because of the juniors and sophomores having to play the last 2 years, 3 years. These two guys played as sophomores. So excited about that. We lost our quarterback. We feel like we got a good replacement there. We kind of got a battle going on a little bit like Alabama, but both those guys will be on the field. Bryce Whitaker and Anderson Morgan, both exceptional athletes. And so, but we feel like we've got some players back that are going to be good leaders. They got good work ethic. They're very loyal to Hokes Bluff, which I think today's world is very important. And I won't get on that subject, but they're dedicated to Hokes Bluff. His stepdad played at Hokes Bluff. Dylan's family's been in Hokes Bluff their entire lives. So, we all bleed a little bit of green.
Coach Robertson, you've been at this a long time, and it's kind of off subject of football. What keeps you coming back year after year?
Well, you know, a lot of people have asked me, besides when I'm going to retire, sometimes I wonder if I need to retire, so I don't have to answer that. But these guys, I really do enjoy it. We had a short workout and went out on field, did a little bit last night, and I came home, and my wife said I was in a good mood. She asked me what's going on. I said, I just being around the guys, you know, just see their faces, seeing them enjoy the game. And I think I guess I'm doing, I think, a halfway good job in that kids still want to play for me. As the head coach, they don't really play for me. They play for the school, and they hear that a lot. But in this situation, I just say I enjoy. I think I'm making a difference. And one of the things that, you know, the Hall of Fame this year was a big deal for me at the state. And one of the questions that got me teary-eyed was asking about former players. And Danny Payne told me that I would enjoy that later on. The players coming back, played for me 20 years ago. Hey, Coach, thanks for what you did. I didn't have a dad. You made a difference in my life. So all those kind of things, you know, you think about as you get older. So I guess just the players, that's why I'm still doing it.
Well, this is for the players. What is it like to play for Coach Robertson? What does he mean to you, not just on the field, but what does he mean to you as a person? And I know you want to play well for him because you want to please him, but what does he mean to you as an individual?
Coach Rob has definitely been a big role model in my life. I think it's not just football. It's he wants us to become men for him later on in our lives, being great fathers and role models in the future for our families.
Yeah, I've known Coach Rob for a while. When I was younger, I did like ball boy and stuff for the high school, and I just always looked up to him. And I couldn't wait to be up here and be a senior, and now here I am. So.
Thank you, guys.
Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but your entire assistant coach staff played for you. Is that right? Including your son, Brad. Does that kind of keep you fresh, you know, having younger guys around and bringing a kind of a different perspective with ideas and whatnot?
Well, yes, sir, it does. And, you know, I've over the 28 years as the head coach, I've really had two staffs. Going back, you know, my early days, I had Patrick Ball, which Jake's dad. We lost to cancer 10 years ago. Greg Watkins, who's doing our radio. I thought he was supposed to be here. He said he's going to ask me hard questions, but he's probably still asleep. And Jeff Noah, who's now working at Briarmead Golf Course. They were the assistants that stayed with me through the years, the state championships and all the things that we did. And then we turned it over now, and you're right, Taylor Morgan, Brian Sexton, and Jake Ball, all three played on the state championship team, Jake being MVP in the state. And, of course, Brad, my son, who's been out there on the field since he's about could walk. He's been on the field and won a lot of games as a quarterback for us. So they know what Hokes Bluff's about. And, you know, if you're not from Hokes Bluff, it's hard for me to explain. I mentioned that earlier. You know, a lot of players moving around now, as we all know. But, you know, if you're from Hokes Bluff and you know what it's about and what's happened from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s through Coach Payne and Coach Reeves, who are my mentors, then you kind of understand. But having that staff together, you know, we went out yesterday. We didn't even talk about what we're going to do. You know, go to group work and do what we've been doing. And, you know, we haven't won every game, but I think we're competitive, play hard, and do the right things. I think we're losing that a little bit, the ethical part of this. But, you know, it's life. It goes on. Coach Saban says there's a lot of things going on in college football. Coach Saban's totally disagreeing with, but it's the rules we got. We got to play with them. Sorry to get on that tangent a little bit there.
Going off of that, how important is it for Hokes Bluff to have the staff that, you know, they bleed Hokes Bluff, they went there, they know what it is, and maybe for the players, if you want to talk about it, in this age where sometimes you don't have as many people who aren't as loyal, how important is it for them to kind of instill that, you know, the Hokes Bluff spirit or?
Yeah. Well, you know, loyalty is a big word. You know, I talk, even my wife, I'm loyal to her for 30-some years. Don't tell her I forgot, but 36, 37. But I do think loyalty is important. You know, the first staff I had, I mentioned, them guys, you know, none of them wanted to be a head coach, so I never felt any kind of, if you call it a threat. I know coaches that talk to me now and say, well, I got a couple guys on staff, I think they want me to lose. I've had that told to me, but I've been so lucky. Them guys all love coaching. I respect them as a player now as a coach, and I really don't even think about that. You know, we go out and practice, and we have a good time. You can ask any of those guys. We have a good time. Win or lose, we don't make much money. We don't make the money, Jeff, that you make, you guys, John, all you guys. I'm like Coach Short. Coach, we don't make any money, do we?
No.
I don't make John Hoder money. But anyway, but we do enjoy it. Yeah, if I made Jeff Allen money, I'd done retired, but I have to keep working at 64. But 66, yes, sir. I'm sorry. But no, that's a good question. Loyalty is so important in today's world. And, I think that's something we've lost a little bit too. But Hokes Bluff, I think we still have it for the most part.
Coach, I don't have a question.
Yes, sir.
I got to say something to you.
Yes, sir.
When I retired, I didn't have a chance to tell you, but I appreciate the way you do things and what all you stand for, and you can see that in your kids. I got a chance to come watch you play last year, and I said they're going to play hard, and they're going to get after you, and that always gives your kids a chance to win, but it gives them a chance to win in life, and you're in that Hokes Bluff way.
I appreciate that, Coach. I've highly respected you. You know that, too. I've told you that. But, well, you've got to win games or people don't like you. Unfortunately, we judge that way. We've got a new band director, and I got to meet him this morning. Young, just out of college, seems to be a great guy. And I was kidding him. I said, you better be good because Hokes Bluff, they want a good band. And I patted him on the shoulder. I said, I'm kind of kidding. I said, they don't put a score up for your game, but they do mine. I said, and he kidded. I said, they do matter. It does matter in Hokes Bluff, though, the band to be good. And I was trying to give him some encouragement. But Coach Short, I appreciate those words. And hopefully I can continue to do it. Everybody asks me when I'm going to retire, and I've said it. And I've got I'm limping a little bit, so don't make fun of me this year. But with my health or the guys I don't think want to play anymore for me, if they think I'm too old or whatever, but I'm a pretty liberal guy. I went to Brooks and Dunn concert and felt like I'm old, but they're 8, 9. And I was going to Taylor Swift, but John Hoder, you didn't get me those tickets you promised me for Taylor Swift, so I didn't get to go see her. I've only seen her once. I know. Well, I just paid $800 for 2 Aerosmith tickets, so that's how stupid I am. And I want to go to George Strait, so if you got any George Strait tickets coming up here, I want those, but they're $500 a piece too, John. So, but no, I'm a liberal guy. I want to stay open to the players. We used to not play music before the game in the locker room. We do that now, Coach Short. Don't get mad at me. But these guys know I want them to have fun. I want them, when the season's over, win or lose, winning. They know the way. What's the word? How do you have fun, guys? Win. And we talk about that. But you can still enjoy things in life if you do fail sometimes, just knowing you gave it your best. So, anyway.
Hey, guys, I want to ask y'all one final question. Talk about what it means to you as a player, as an individual, for Coach to ask you to come represent the Hokes Bluff community, the Hokes Bluff football team in your school.
I feel it's a great honor that Coach Rob asked me to come. My freshman year, I saw the guys. It was Austin Blevins and who else was it, Coach, that went? Anyways, I saw that, and I told my mother, my senior year, I hope I can attend this and be the spokesman for us.
I'm honored, too, that Coach Rob asked me to come. I've always looked up to the people who came. I always thought of them as more of a leader because they could get handpicked by a coach to go do something like this. And Coach Rob trusts them to say the right stuff, and I always wanted to be like them.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Coach. Congratulations. I didn't mention it earlier. I meant to mention congratulations, well-deserved, to be in the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame. That's a great honor for you.
That's because of our players.
And I understand it's a lot of folks went into that.
Yes, sir.
But congratulations, it was well-deserved.
Thank you, guys, and I appreciate you guys are all positive in our sports, and I always mention that to you, Jeff. I'm going to tell this quick story. You and John especially go way back. I always listen to shows, believe it or not, Jeff. I know you call me and I won't answer, but still, You guys can. One night I was listening to Jeff, and somebody got beat 50-0, basically. And before you got through, you had thought the team that lost had won the game, and I appreciate that because high school coaches have a tough time, and y'all always make it right, if that's a good word to use there, and I appreciate that. I respect you for that. Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys. All right, I believe we got Coosa next. Coach O'Brien in the house. Yeah, he's back. He's back conversing. He's back coaching. Hey guys, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see y'all today. If you're asked a question, be sure and stay in the microphone for us, okay? Appreciate it. That's okay. Coach, you doing okay? I'm doing good to see you. Doing well. Good to see you. Okay, next up is Coosa Christian and Coach Mark O'Brien. And Coach, if I'll let all the pictures be made here, but if you'll introduce the guys or let them introduce themselves and then make some opening comments about this year's team, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll let them go ahead and introduce. We'll start down here. We'll work our way down.
I'm Drake Dupree. I'm a senior. I'll play for Coosa, obviously.
Jaden Burns. I'm a senior. I'm a kicker and punter.
John David Justice. I'm a junior. I'm a quarterback.
Eli Moats, junior.
About these guys in general, yeah, we've had a really good off season. We've participated in some OTAs, 7v7s. I think the results have been pretty positive for us. So we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, stay in the same routine, and get ready to play ball here in about 3 weeks or so.
Could you talk about how many returning players you have, how many is on the team, maybe how many offensive, defensive linemen, skilled players you have coming back?
I think we had 6 seniors last year. I believe that's right. I may be wrong. We're a junior team is what we are, okay? So I think, from that perspective, that 8th and 9th grade team behind that junior bunch, it's all pretty strong. All right. So, and I believe this will be the best year we've ever had at Coosa if we can stay healthy. We're strong and physical, and we're a lot faster than we've been. So, I think it's good for years to come, providing we stay healthy.
Well, Coach O'Brien, you was one play basically away from playing for a state championship last year. I know a lot of times, you really don't set individual goals early in the year, but these guys, the bar is set high, and you know as well as I know that the opportunity, if it presents itself, the goal is to win a state championship.
Yeah, and so the question to that, I'm sorry.
I just want, how are those expectations that high? They have been raised.
The expectations were the same as day one. I'm a anybody knows me knows I'm very incredible routine guy. I mean, it's to the point where I drink Monsters at the same time every day, and that's crazy, I know, but it's the truth. I mean, I go to bed at the same time, I wake up at the same time, take a shower at the same time, I drink Monsters at the same time. And so yeah, the expectations are the same as they were day one. It's just we didn't have the talent day one 3 years ago that we've got now. So, if we get in there and compete and do what we need to do, I think we can have a really productive season. I don't know what that means, but I know it should be a productive season.
Well, of course, this year your region schedule, and of course the schedule is pretty tough in general.
Yeah.
But who do you foresee in the region to be your toughest opponent?
I think there's 4 really. I think all the teams really. They got great effort. That's the thing that we see out of this region. These kids play hard in every team we play. But, you know, I mean, you know, you got Valley Head, it's going to be really strong. You know, they won't have, I don't think they have any kids that go both ways, which is huge in 1A. And then, of course, you got Cedar Bluff, who's, you know, notoriously good, you know, and Decatur Heritage, they're very good. You know, I think Appalachian's very talented. So, you know, all those teams right there, I think, you know, and no knock on anybody that's not listed. I'm just saying, like, I think those are the teams that's going to probably make the most noise.
My question is to each one of the guys right here. A lot of people from the outside looking in, they see, then you have no idea what you guys do in the weight room, just from a day-to-day perspective. And when football season stops, you guys' off season starts immediately. For everybody from the outside looking in,